Checkpoint time. So here's a little bit of fun that we're going to do. I don't know that the VPN route has been reconfigured yet. So there may be transient interruption in the VPN. So hopefully that's not going to affect us. But basically, just a quick review of the big picture that we're going to be doing. We haven't got through any of this yet, other than the fact that the firewall is already up and running and we checked that it's there. So, quick check to where we're at. We wanted to make sure that you've signed up in the spreadsheet. You have your VPN. You're able to see the OpenStack flavor list. You can do the kube control get pods-a, and that OSM Vim list and OSM Kate's cluster list works. With those things working, we should then be able to actually take a small detour and launch a network service. So there are scripts in the 1.5 checkpoint where it builds the descriptor from source and launches the descriptor. And you'll be able to view it and be able to SSH to it. So I will do a quick review. This is our network service descriptor that we're going to be building and launching. So all it does is it says that there's going to be one VDU, one VNF basically inside of here. We're saying that we're going to be using the VNF descriptor called Hackfest Basic. And it has an external management network. And that's what we're going to be talking to it on for managing the VM as well as any further communication with it. The VNFD is a little bit bigger, where we're describing in here. Oh, sorry, for those that want to take a look, sorry, let me grab my terminal here. So if you go into OSM packages, you will see a whole bunch of things in here. What we are looking for is Hackfest Basic Network Service, and that's where you've got this NSD that I'm showing, and Hackfest Basic VNF descriptor, and that is this VNFD that I'm showing right now. So in here, it describes basic that we're just simply creating one instance of it, and it is being described by this virtual data unit labeled Hackfest Basic VM. It has one external connection point, and here's where we describe what the image will be. Actually, it's Ubuntu 16.04. And this one happens to have a little bit of extra data in there. It's possible to describe what images to use per Vim. So in the case where, by default, use use the software called Ubuntu 16.04. But if we happen to be running in Amazon Web Services, we would like to use this image instead. Now, we're not actually doing AWS, so this is not going to be effective today. But just a side detour to point out that it is possible to specify alternate images as part of the descriptor as well. So the virtual data unit. Here's where we do the last mile plumbing for the network interface, as well as describing the type of network that we want to use here. So this is going to use paravirtualized networking. It's possible to specify something like SRIOV here if we wanted to enable data plane acceleration. And down here, we're describing the amounts of CPU and memory, as well as the storage that we're going to be using. So if you want, you can go ahead and execute some of these commands here, the basic build and then the basic launch. So one thing that I did do with some of these scripts here is I went, Hackfest day 1.5, checkpoint, basic build. You'll notice that I'm in my home directory right now. If I run that, it says, oops, we're not in the OSM packages directory. So if you checked out the OSM packages somewhere else, you will need to, well, regardless of where you checked it out, you need to CD into the OSM packages directory, just so that everyone, knows and doesn't see strange errors if they happen to be in the wrong directory. So now I can go ahead and rerun this, and it does this basic build. First, let me just cap the file so that you know what it looks like. So that we can run things over and over again, I added this delete as the first set of lines. So that way, if you wanted to make any modifications and test out your modifications, it'll clear it out of OSM and allow you to upload it a second time. It does an OSM package build command, which is what Alejandro just described, where it takes the YAML file and packages it up in a format that's usable, the Sol6 format that's usable by OSM. It will then do an upload of that. After that, the next file that we would use is a launch command. And the launch command looks like this. First, we do an OSM Vim list to find out what your UUID is. I'm only doing this because everyone has a different Vim name, OSM Hackfest 5, OSM Hackfest 27, etc., etc. So for keeping things simple, I'm looking up the Vim account for you, and then you don't have to look it up. Then it does this OSM Vim NS create, where it says, okay, what's the network service descriptor name we're going to use? And for our management network, inside of OpenStack, what network should we use for the management? So that way, once it's started, we know what network it will be attached to. So once the VPN is back, then we can go ahead and try some of these commands. The last thing I have in here is a delete, which just simply removes that service once we're done playing around with it. Okay, so I verified that I was able to ping this. Everything's back up and running now. So I should be able to do my Hackfest basic build. Oh, wait, not cat the file, but actually run it. So this is to be expected the first time around, that the basic descriptors were not found in your OSM. As I mentioned, this was just a matter of in case they were there and you want to rerun the script again, it will go ahead and delete them the second time and then build again from source and upload them. So this script can be run over and over again. The next thing we would like to do is actually launch. Now, what I'm going to do here is show that we're launching it onto the external subnet. So this is going to be the management subnet, which is 172.21.18.0. So eventually we're going to end up with an IP address somewhere in this range. So I go ahead and launch that service now. It says, okay, we're going ahead and launching it on that Vim, and there is the ID of my service. So I can say OSM NS list, and I will see that I have this not instantiated network service, and it's currently getting ready to start running. If I go into my OSM and I log in with my user ID, I see here that I have the NS package, I have the VNF package, and if I go down under instances, I should be able to find my basic VNF that I launched. And here we can see that it is already done. Through the UI, you can actually see full set of info, which is a lot of information about it, but the IP address of it will be in here, as well as you can, from here now, OSM NS list and OSM VNF list. And here, oh, it's off the side of my screen. Hold on one moment. I shall make this a little wider. Here I can see I have received my IP address. One of the things that we did in setting up the Hackfest is, if you take a look, you have a folder called in your home directory, you have an SSH directory, and you have a set of SSH keys. These are SSH private and public keys that were created for you. And as part of the launch command, I said, oh, inject the public key into the network service that we're launching. So I can actually just SSH directly to this IP address, and it's not even going to ask me for a password, because it's going to use these keys in SSH to perform the authentication. So when I SSH to it, I see, there we go, I am in my VM now. If I take a look in OpenStack, so again, 18.18/auth/login, your domain is admin domain, your username is and password are what you used in the spreadsheet to sign up. And when you log in, you shall see you now have 2 instances running. If we go into the instance view, we can see that this VM was created by OSM. Here's its IP address, and the flavor, we are not creating flavors as part of the Hackfest. These are flavors that I pre-created, and they follow the pattern of 1 CPU, 1 gig of RAM, 10 gig of disk. So if you see flavors with this in it, that's something that I did. That's not part of the part of OSM. If you had full admin privileges in OpenStack, it would create a flavor on demand that matches the network service descriptor, but we're not doing that in this case. So if anyone is following along with their own OSM in OpenStack, you may see a different flavor name created here, and that's perfectly normal. So there's the information about it. We can see it's got one network interface. There's the fixed IP address. The last thing is the console. Now, due to the way the console works, you might have to click here to show only console. And it's loading, and you have to say advanced. Because of the fact that this is a self-signed certificate, you're always going to have to go through this to be able to actually see the console. Oh, there it is, sorry. So we can actually see the VM itself through OpenStack. But this is not necessarily necessary. We should never need to go into OpenStack at this level. So back here, we have this launched. And from your CLI, once you've launched it, you can do the VNF list. That gives you your IP address. The default username is Ubuntu, and all of your SSH keys have been created and are stored automatically in your home directory. So then you should be able to just do SSH Ubuntu to the IP address that's listed, and you will log into your VM directly. So that was it for our little checkpoint and detour. Once you're ready, you can go ahead and delete your network service descriptor, or if you prefer to have your descriptor stay around for a bit, we can do that. But just for the sake of keeping your environment clean, I would suggest going ahead and deleting it. So I will log out now and do my basic delete. No, I'm actually going to execute the script, not just type it. So now it's deleting the network service. When I take a look here, I can see in OSM, it says it's terminating. And if I go back to my, oh, actually, I should go back a little bit here to my instance list, I can see it's been removed from OpenStack, and all that's left is my VIOS router, my firewall. And here it has gone from OSM. And if I try and SSH to it again, I get nothing because that network service is gone.